Many people believe that Robert E. Lee was a racist. This is a very common misconception, as for he went down in history as a racist, only for the reason that he fought with the Confederacy. It is a very popular opinion that the Confederacy fought for slavery, therefore, fighting for something such as the Confederacy can get you the title of being racist. However, the word racist and Robert E. Lee do not belong in the same sentence together, believe it or not. Now, coming from a unionist who's done their research and who has done their studies, I can say with full historical evidence and proof that Robert E. Lee was not a racist. Let me explain. If you do a simple Google search of if did Robert E. Lee own slaves, the answer that Google gives you from an article from apnews.com, it states Robert E. Lee, who led the Confederate States Army in the Civil War, opposed both secession and slavery. He did not own slaves. AP's assessment, as they did their research, they concluded that that was false. According to historians, not only did Lee own slaves, but he also fought in court to keep working slaves from his father-in-law's estates. Now, this is just a simple Google search, and AP News isn't necessarily a very trusted website. There's never been any controversy surrounding it. It's just not a historically based website, I should say. Not biased, but, it's a website that's not necessarily grounded on the basis of history, and these websites can be completely wrong. If anything, we should probably treat this AP News article like a BuzzFeed article. Completely incorrect and annoying as heck. As for there's, really no other article or no other this or that backing up AP News at the moment. Now we're going to move on to the next article that states otherwise. Lee spent his early years surrounded by enslaved African Americans, although that changed once he joined the Army. His wife, Mary Randolph Custis Lee, freed her own personal slaves, but her father, George Washington Parkey, I think that's how you say it, Custis, still owned many people or slaves. And when he died, Robert E. Lee, as an executor of his estate, was responsible for whatever that word means or how you pronounce it, basically managing them within 5 years. He was widely criticized for taking the full 5 years. Lee and his wife supported the American Colonization Society before the war, but resisted the abolitionist movement. This just goes to show that Lee didn't, how do I put this? Lee didn't personally want to own slaves. The only reason why he had slaves was because of his father's estate. Or his father's in-law estate, as I should say. So, this article from a fancy.org website states completely otherwise than what that first Google search told us. Now we're going to go to the next article, and this will be our last article, giving us our complete answer. The Myth of Kindly General Lee by TheAtlantic.com, published on June 4th, 2017. I didn't want to open the entire article. It's very long or it cost some money. I cannot remember. However, this is what it says on its front. Lee was a slave owner. His own views on slavery were... Not sure how to pronounce that one. However, after the war, Lee did advise defeated Southerners not to rise up. Now, right off the bat, I've said this before, it kind of looks like a BuzzFeed article. However, it's more of a 50-50 here, so we're just gonna say, hey, this could be true, right? Because we have two articles saying that Robert E. Lee was a slave owner, and we have one saying otherwise. Now, I'm not going to be talking about if it's a .com or .org, because that no longer really matters. In democracy, majority rules. So, majority rules. But the answer is kind of surprising and kind of not. It's weird. However, the answer is pretty mixed no matter what your view on this is. So when you ask the question if Robert E. Lee owned slaves, the answer would sadly be yes. However, if you were to ask the question if he willfully owned slaves, the answer would be mixed depending on how you would see it, but for the most part, the answer to that question would be no. Robert E. Lee did not willfully own slaves, so you cannot hold him accountable for that. However, if you were to ask me if I still think that Robert E. Lee is a racist, or do I consider Robert E. Lee racist, my answer would be yes. Because I see the Robert E. Lee situation of if he's a racist or was he a slave owner or not, more of a personal thing. So it varies person by person because it's more of an opinion than a fact. The fact of the matter is that he didn't willfully own slaves, but if he was racist is more of an opinion. I consider Robert E. Lee racist. If you support the Confederacy, I consider you a racist. If you have any ties or support the Confederacy in any way, shape, or form, I consider you a racist simply because, in my opinion, the Confederacy did fight for slavery. So I consider anyone who even eerily associates with the Confederate flag, or should I say rag, a racist. But I've met a couple cool Confederates, which is kind of weird to, admit and say, because I personally do not favor Confederates. If my dog starts barking, please, for the love of God, ignore him. Please. Anyways, I don't really tend to favor Confederates. I consider all Confederates racist. I don't care if any reason. If you're a Confederate, I simply consider you racist. Not really logical. But hey, that's all I got. So in the end, Robert E. Lee did own slaves, but I don't think he really had any contact or relation to any of them. Alright, so in the end, he's technically a slave owner, technically not. It's opinionated. If you want to consider him a racist, I consider him a racist. But that's all up to you. I gave 3 articles, a couple facts, and that's really it. So you can make your own opinion off of that. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. And with that, bid you farewell.
We are coming, Father Abram, 300,000 more, from Mississippi's winding stream and from New England's shore. We leave our plows and workshops, our wives and children dear, with hearts too full for utterance, with but a silent tear. We dare not look behind us, but steadfastly before. We are coming, Father Abraham, 300,000 more. We are coming, our union to restore. We are coming, Father Abraham, 300,000 more. If you look across the hilltops that meet the northern sky, long moving lines of rising dust your vision may descry. And now the wind an instant tears the cloudy veil aside, and floats aloft our spangled flag in glory and in pride. And bayonets in the sunlight gleam and bands brave music pour. We are coming, Father Abraham, 300,000 more. We are coming, our union to restore. We are coming, Father Abraham, 300,000 more. If you look up all our valleys where the growing harvests shine, you may see our sturdy farmer boys fast forming into line, and children from their mothers' knees are pulling